In this video, I will be showing you a few more basic AutoCAD commands and procedures. We are going to get started by drawing a circle. A lot of the drawings that we're going to be doing upcoming in the near future will involve some circles or parts of circles. The circle command is located in the draw area on our toolbar, and if we move our mouse pointer on top of that, it says circle center radius, and that is one option that we can choose. Now that is what the computer defaults to. So if I go ahead and left click on that one time and take a look in my command line down at the bottom, it says circle, meaning I selected the circle command. Specify center point for circle, or all this other stuff. So what we're going to do is come up here to our drawing area, and we're going to left click one time, and we're going to move the mouse. Now we specified the center just like it asked us to, and now if we take a look in the command line, it says to specify the radius of a circle, and radius is a measurement from the center point to the outside, and you can see we have that dashed line showing us the radius. Now we could just select any area and click, or we could type in a specific measurement. If I type in 1.5 enter, my circle has a radius of 1.5 inches, which would mean the diameter is 3 inches. Now there are some other ways to make circles that will prove to be handy on some of the upcoming drawings. If we come up here back to the circle tool, but instead of selecting this particular tool, we click on the down arrow. That's going to give us some different options for different methods of making circles. So a simple one would be the circle center diameter. So if I select this one and then take a look down in my command line, it says specify center point for the circle, and I can click one time and pull my measurement, and now it's asking me to specify a diameter for the circle. So if I wanted my diameter 3 inches, which was the same as the previous one, I could type in 3, enter, and then my two circles are the same size. Let's take a look at another one. If we have circle 2 point, we can select that, and it does show you a little example of what that might look like. The command line says specify center point for circle. This is that default kind of first text that pops up. If we keep on reading, it actually has our 2-point one, which says specify first end point of circle's diameter. So I can click here, and then it says to specify the second end point, and I can just click wherever, or I could type in a measurement. Sometimes you'll have to use different ones given the drawings and what lines you have on the drawings. This circle tan radius shows two different circular objects there, and it's making a circle between them that is tangent to both of those objects with some type of given radius. So if I go ahead and select this circle tan radius, my command line says to specify point on object for first tangent. If I move my mouse pointer close to the circle, you see there is a little icon that pops up. That's the tangent icon. And anywhere I click on here, it's going to be tangent to the approximate location of where I click. Now AutoCAD's actually going to go in and calculate where the tangency is, so as long as we're in the general vicinity, then that should be alright. So if I want to do a circle that's tangent to both of these on the bottom side, we'll just select our first one. Our command line says specify a point for our second tangency, so let's do this one over here. And then it says specify a radius. Let's say we want a radius of 5 inches. 5, enter, and that creates a tangent circle that's tangent at 2 points. I could come in here and trim off this excess piece here, and that is tangent. Another one up here is circle tan tan tan. So let's say we have 3 different pieces that we want tangent. We could select that, specify our first one, specify our second one, specify our third one. And AutoCAD's going to go through and calculate what's necessary to be tangent to all of those 3 objects. I can trim off some of these extra pieces here, and we can see that our lines are tangent, meaning they only touch at 1 point, which basically means, the lines are going to flow perfectly smoothly into each other. Now I do want to mention that you don't have to make circles tangent to other circles. You could have different types of shapes. You could have a line and maybe some type of a rectangle, and you could create a circle tan tan radius. So let's select our line here. Maybe we want to select the bottom of our box here and say we have a 2-inch radius circle. So that's going to do its best guess to where that will be tangent. Now, because of the measurement of this circle, if I wanted it tangent, I would probably have to extend some of these lines so that it would be tangent. And we could trim off the excess, and then we have this tangent line here. You could also have a triangle and do a circle that is tangent to those 3 points, and it would calculate that measurement as well for the radius of that circle. It's a pretty powerful tool, and we will be using that quite a bit in the upcoming drawings. The next thing I want to talk about is plotting drawings. We've done several drawings up to this point, and you've probably thought to yourself, well, I've drawn this up, how do I actually print it out? I'm going to jump up over here to Olson 1-1, which was that straight lines drawing that we did, the very first drawing that was probably super hard, and you probably got real frustrated doing it. And we want to print this out. Not only do we want to print it out, we want to print it out to scale, meaning this top line here, I drew this top line as 8 inches. When I print it out, I want the printout to be 8 inches. I want this line to be 8 inches on the printout itself. And that's one of the big features in AutoCAD, is printing objects or machine parts, architectural drawings to scale. So then you could, let's say, draw up a set of house plans, give them to the framers. The framers can then frame up the house, or they could put their architect scale on it and figure out the correct measurement for different walls. So we have our drawing area. This is called model space. Anything when we're just kind of free drawing, when we open up our template, that is model space. In AutoCAD, there's kind of 2 different worlds, if you will. There's model space and there's paper space. If you take a look down here to the bottom left, we have an area that says model, and we have an area that says A size paper. If I left click one time on A size paper, I bring up my paper space. And this is kind of where we set up to print out our drawings and make sure that everything is finalized before we print it. If we want to get back to model space, we can just click on the model tab. Paper space, model space. Now if you recall, in a previous video I talked about how to get these little tabs to appear, because by default those tabs don't appear. If we come up here to our view area and we select that menu, that's going to bring us up some different options. If we select the layouts tab, that toggles the layouts tabs from showing up. To make things a little bit easier, I like to always have those turned on so I can quickly switch between model space and paper space. When we're in paper space, again, like I said, we are setting stuff up so that we can print it out, but we want to print it out to scale. This is a template that I created that you can use for all your drawings. If you double click inside of this large white area, you'll notice that the border becomes bold. If you double click outside of that area, the bold border goes away. What we're doing is we are activating a viewport. So when I double click inside that, I've activated the viewport. When I double click outside of that, I've deactivated the viewport. This is important because a viewport is a window into the model space. So much like the window in your house will look into the backyard, this window that we're activating, that is looking into model space. Deactivate it. If we jump back over here to model space, it's looking into this drawing. Now, because it's not showing anything, it's probably looking into an area where there is no drawing. And we need to bring that drawing into the viewable area of our viewport. So if I double click the viewport to activate it, and then I double click the wheel on my mouse, and if you remember, double clicking the wheel brings anything we've drawn into the viewable area. So I double click the wheel and it's going to bring my drawing and it's going to center it and it's going to fill the space as big as it can. It's going to fill that viewport. If I double click on the outside of it, I deactivate that viewport. If I print this drawing out just like this, these lines are not going to be the correct measurement. We're 8 inches across, but if I print it out just like this, I'm not going to be 8 inches across. I want you to double click the viewport again to activate it, and we're going to take a look down here on our other side, and we have an area where we can select the scale of our drawing, or the scale that this viewport is showing things at. If I left click one time on the arrow, I bring up a list of a whole bunch of different scale factors or scale values that I can scale this drawing to. If I want to scale it to full scale, which is 1:1, which means 1 inch on the screen is 1 inch when it prints out, I'm going to select 1 foot equals 1 foot, 1:1. Not 1 inch equals 1 foot, because those aren't equal. 1 foot equals 1 foot. So if I left click one time on that, you're going to see it kind of shrinks down my drawing. So now when I print this out and measure it, the width of this will be exactly 8 inches. You need to be careful though, because when you go to deactivate the viewport, you don't want to accidentally push the wheel or something, or accidentally move your drawing around. If you do, you can double click it to center it, come back down and scale it to 1:1, double click outside of your viewport to deactivate it. Now before we print, we need to come in here and change some of the data in the title block. You can come in here and double click on any of these. So if I double click on this Wikispace course, I can change the name. Let's say it's XYZ High School. Oop. So I'm going to hit OK. Now that kind of messed up my justification. So I'm going to come back in, double click on it, and I'm going to change my justification back to the center. And just click OK, and that saves that. Maybe my name isn't Mr. Olson, maybe it's Billy Jim Joe Bob. And I'm going to click OK, and that saves that in there. The title of the drawing, you're going to find that on the original drawing located at the bottom. So this one is called Straight Lines. So I'm going to come back here, double click, Straight Lines, click OK. My scale factor, you find the scale factor again by looking at the original drawing. Our scale is 1:1. If you remember, we set our scale factor as 1 foot equals 1 foot, which is full scale, which means 1:1. So let's jump back over here, change my scale factor to 1:1, and hit OK. Now the create date and the save date automatically populate when you save the drawing. So if I come in here and I save this drawing, this save date will change and it will update with the current date and time. So if I go ahead and go save, it updates that to the last time I saved it, and it keeps that create date. The class is whatever you want to put. This is TD, standing for technical drafting. If this is being used in a high school setting, you can have the period or the block number and the drawing number. If you don't remember the drawing number, you can always jump over here to your original drawing. This one was drawing 1-1. I'm going to come in here, double click 1-1. Now I do want to warn you, because there is a slight glitch with AutoCAD, and this has been around for a long time, but if you zoom in too close on the viewport and then you double click to activate the viewport and then you try to zoom out, all you're doing is zooming out of the drawing and you are stuck inside of the viewport and you can't get outside of it to deactivate the viewport. If you catch yourself doing this, you can do an edit undo, or you can hit this back arrow a bunch of times until it gets you back to where you can see the outside, so you can double click and activate or deactivate the viewport. That is one glitch that I've ran across quite frequently, that when you're just not thinking and you try to zoom in to get something centered and you activate the viewport, it kind of messes you up unless you catch yourself. Once you have everything set up, the title block is filled out, the drawing is in the viewport and scaled to what you want, we're going to come down here to the bottom left hand corner. We're going to right click on A size paper, and I'm going to come up to plot. Now by default I have this template set to plot to a PDF. We're going to go with this for right now, and then I'll show you another method in just a minute. Before you plot the drawing, you always want to click the preview button, and it allows you to zoom in and zoom out and make sure you spelled your name right and you have all the information on. If you're happy with this, you can right click and go to plot, and that's going to come up, and since we are plotting to a PDF, or we're basically creating a PDF based upon our drawing, then we can just come in and name it whatever we want. Well, I'm going to go to my folder and let's name this Olson 1-1. That's going to go through and create a PDF of my drawing. That is one method of plotting your drawing. You could email that file or whatever you want to do with it. The other method is if you actually want to print it out with a real printer, so you could stick a ruler on it or you could hand it to somebody to build whatever you're drawing. Again, we're going to follow the same procedures. We're going to right click on A size paper. We're going to go up to plot. Instead of plotting it to DWG to PDF, we're going to come in and select the printer. Now I have a printer called Samsung CLP 310 series. I'm going to select that printer and it's going to put some of the settings in, and then I'm going to preview that. And this preview is going to show me exactly what's going to print out. And again, you want to zoom in, zoom out, make sure you have all of your lines lined up and all your names spelled right and everything. And if you're happy with it, you're going to right click and you're going to go to plot, and that's going to print out your drawing. And then you could take a ruler or you could give it to somebody and they could build it. If you do find something that you need to correct, you can back out of this by just pressing escape a bunch of times until it backs you out to your drawing. Once you're in paper space, you can jump back over to model space and correct whatever you need to correct on your drawing, and then go back to paper space and set up your drawing. May double check it, right click on A size paper, go to plot, select your printer or do the PDF, and go ahead and preview that, right click, plot. Find something else, escape backs you out of it.